CashFlow Diary Podcast, episode 447.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the CashFlow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other CashFlow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the CashFlow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because here's the thing. When you were inspired, I know, you remember that moment, right? That moment where you said, I want to start a business. Or that moment where you're like, you know what? I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity that I've been given and do my own thing. You know, that inspiration moment. I'm willing to bet that inside that moment, you had a whole plan and a lot of things that you love to do that you just never got the opportunity to do. In fact, you had been working your job in the hopes that one day the job would give you the opportunity to do it. And then you realized that working a job was probably part of the problem. Well, I have with me today a guest who kind of realized very similar things. In fact, he's gone on to now do what you would call design his life, a life that has been designed to specifically allow him to enjoy the things that he loves. What do I mean by that? Well, very simply, he's been able to live and work in over 70 countries in the last 7 years, a 7-figure business in the last 7 years. And what's really interesting is that what he just kind of wanted to do was travel. Odd, right? But yet, he doesn't own a travel business. So what we are going to do today, we are going to listen. We're going to learn from someone who has managed to build a business, live where he wants to, love life in the process, and most importantly, has picked up a lot of clues and tips on the way, and we'll be sharing them with you and I. I'm talking, of course, of none other than Kean Graham. He's the founder and CEO of Monetized More. In 2008, he was working as a digital marketing manager, but lost his job during the global financial crisis. And that's what we would call a decision-making point. Well, here's the cool thing. At first, he just wanted to be a digital nomad because that was the lifestyle choice. But now, he says, it's a distinct competitive advantage. So, take out those iPads, those pencils, those notepads, whatever you use, and let's listen to Kean Graham. Kean, you there?
Yep. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad that you're here, sir. Just because you're a digital nomad, we're kind of curious. Where are you today?
So I'm currently at my home in Victoria, BC, Canada, on the West Coast. And it's pretty rare that I'm back home these days. I kind of come back to do some errands, connect with friends, but I'm usually living somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, that was unfortunately anticlimactic this time, although we get the idea that normally you're somewhere else. Now, this being your first time here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. So I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. You know, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, etc. Because I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. Chief among them, there was a time where if you, as an entrepreneur, you can imagine yourself maybe even flying around town, saving people, using your products and services, and you can feel kind of like empowered in that way. But also, like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. For example, say Spider-Man. There was a time where Spider-Man, he was just a kid going to school, trying to get good grades, taking some photos, making sure he had enough pizza money for the weekend. And then one day he gets bit by this spider and discovers he's got some newfound abilities and talents and has to choose, will he use them for good and or evil? So my question to you is as follows. before, say, the 70 countries, before your business Monetized More, before all of the employees and deciding to be a digital nomad, before, even being able to overlook Machu Picchu, before all of that stuff that people know you for today, my question is, who is Kean Graham?
Well, I would say in terms of my story, my humble beginnings, to use your analogy with Spider-Man, it started back in university. I went to the University of Victoria, which I still call my home base, as little as I am here. And university was kind of a big evolution point for me. I used to be really kind of introverted, and university allowed me to kind of come into myself and really kind of grow my confidence level. And business was the thing that kind of interested me the most. So I took business at university, really kind of came out of my shell, and really enjoyed it. And I went on an academic exchange to the Netherlands, kind of got that travel bug that people tend to get on their first trip. And by the time I finished university, I got my first job with a company called Used Everywhere. And this was the first marketing hire that pretty much the first marketing hire that they've had. And it was like a launching pad for me. That was the best job I've ever had. It was an incredible opportunity. And I was essentially a growth hacker before growth hackers was even a term.
Right.
Yeah. And it was, I really realized the opportunity in the digital industry, fell in love with it. I was kind of like a natural fit. And I was almost like an entrepreneur within a larger company, an intrapreneur, as some would call it. So I kind of developed that entrepreneurial skill set while also growing my digital marketing skills and just learning kind of hustle and grow the traffic of a online classified network that was doing pretty well already. So then we fast forward to the global financial crisis that you mentioned, and the online classified was owned by a newspaper company. And as we all know, newspaper companies kind of feel the squeeze the quickest.
Right.
So they went from investment model to let's make profits immediately. So they laid off the marketing team, which was 4 people at the time. And this came as a huge surprise. It was the best job I've ever had. However, I'm the type of person who turns bad things into good things. So from what you asked, I would definitely call myself a very versatile person, which has definitely come in handy through my entrepreneurial experiences. So I took that situation and jumped on a plane 5 days later to find myself in Peru on a 5-month backpacking trip. And
Hold on. Did you say you got laid off and 5 days later you went to Peru?
Oh, yeah. I was able to get everything organized, get my shots, sublet my apartment, and boom, I'm in South America, ready to have the time of my life.
Okay, I did not see that coming. But there's something else in what you just shared that I think was interesting, because you used past tense, and you said used to be introverted. So I want to key in on that for a moment. Is that something that you think that can be changed, unlearned? Because that was an interesting piece of your story, because it sounds like that was also a necessary component in order for you to eventually build the business we know today as Monetized More.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a happier person as an extrovert. I kind of naturally evolved to it. Once I went to university and I associated with people that I found really interesting. And I kind of, once I started meeting these people in university, I wanted to dig in more. and meet more people. And I got a lot of joy out of it. When I grew up in a small town in the Canadian Rockies, and your social circles are very small. You don't have many choices in the type of people that you associate with. And when I went to university, all of a sudden I met like-minded people, other intellectuals that think bigger, think greater. And this was something that kind of inspired me to be more social and really enjoy getting to know people. So it was a pretty big evolution for me. And yeah, like you said, it was a big part of the success of my business because it allows me to, I have more confidence. I'm more opportunistic as an entrepreneur. I'm more optimistic. It was, big building blocks for the growth towards becoming an entrepreneur.
So let me ask this question, because I know someone's thinking it that's listening right now. Would you say that it's a mandatory requirement? So say someone is introverted at this moment. Can an introvert still build a business, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I definitely think that introverts can build successful businesses. It's important that the business is tailored and structured to that founder or founders. So someone who is introverted perhaps is a better fit for more technical businesses, analytical. It's the networking portion is quite important. However, that can be hired out, or other founders can kind of complement that, because with extroverts, they gain energy when meeting new, to lose energy, and they have to kind of pull that energy from within. And it's just more of a struggle to do that constant networking or sales or that kind of interpersonal type of relations. So that is a big part of business, especially at the beginning portions. However, for the business that I've built and the initial traction that I got, it had a lot to do with my extroverted traits.
That makes sense. Now, what I found funny, though, is that you're talking about, what is it, outsourcing, more or less, the part you don't like, meeting people, which is totally, definitely something that can be done. Now, there's something you said, though, that I want to key in on. You mentioned that the business needed to be tailored for the founder. Isn't that kind of what you did? I mean, tell us about this journey. How do you go from Peru to Monetize More? Because it sounds like that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, so exactly. I was the one who tailored the business to me, and particularly what I valued and the vision I had for myself. It was definitely a lifestyle that I wanted to build. That was the initial goal, to be able to work and travel anywhere and whenever I wanted to. So that was the initial fire that I had. And I got that inspiration within Peru. I went a month later and I made a bunch of websites, did affiliate marketing with the goal to come up with that idea of what business can I deliver value within the industry. So I came up with a more specific goal of, I'm going to increase measurable revenues for businesses via digital means. And this can be done via SEO, social media, customer usage model, search engine marketing, web design. There's a lot of different methods to be able to increase measurable revenues. And my old employer used Everywhere as a case study. So I said, okay. And I looked at their revenue streams and I realized Google AdSense is their largest revenue stream. And they're the only revenue stream for their programmatic ad inventory. Pretty much their unsold ad inventory was all going to Google AdSense. They had a monopoly. So I said, okay, there's something here. As I know from simple economics, going from monopolistic competition to perfect competition will increase the efficiency of the market, and it'll increase the going price for each ad impression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable an auction for used everywhere. So instead of just Google being the only bidder, I'm going to use something called an ad server to enable the auction and have Google compete against AOL and other ad networks like Caselli Media or Facebook or Amazon. And with all those competing against each other, having, say, 10 bidders versus one bidder, the price is going to go up from the increased demand. That is the theoretical part. So I went to use everywhere. I said, okay, I can enable an auction and increase the price for your ad space. And they said, okay, that sounds great, but we can't really afford to pay you a retainer. I said, that's fine. I'll charge you a percentage of the increase. If I don't increase your ad revenues, I'll charge nothing. And so I started with initial optimization on AdSense. I changed the colors, changed the font sizes to see which gets higher click-through rates. And that got an increase of like 10%. Then I went into adding AOL and the other ad networks and kept on testing different ad optimization tactics with the goal to increase their ad revenues further. And it went up and up and up, and I was able to make them additional millions. And that was the initial success story that I pioneered over a 2-year period. And now we use it for websites around the world. We've tailored technology to it. And we're also building a SaaS solution for publishers to be able to do it on their own.
Got it. Wow. All right. That's clearly the big idea. So my question to you is, to those entrepreneurs that are listening that are just, maybe they're still sitting on their big idea or have had, some thoughts around their big idea, how on earth do you gather the courage to get started? Like, a lot of people have a challenge just saying, you know what, this idea is something that I'm going to plant my flag upon, and actually go out there and do it. Where did that courage come from for you?
I would say it was a bit natural for me. Entrepreneurial type of environment. My parents have a bed and breakfast in the Canadian Rockies, so that is their business. So I lived in a pretty unorthodox type of childhood. We lived literally on a mountain in, our neighbor's pretty much a bear, and we were off the grid for 5 years. Actually, we lived on solar power, so it would not be uncommon for me to do homework under candlelight because we literally had no power.
How close was the school?
It was about a 20-minute drive away, 4-kilometer dirt road. So it was, we were able to get to school each day, except for but it was, to pretty much sum it up, it was a pretty unorthodox type of childhood, and it allows me to have a very wide comfort zone, and to go into something new was not as tough as, say, someone else. So that having that courage, I didn't need as much courage, say, as maybe the other person. And because I grew up in a more entrepreneurial type of atmosphere, it was closer to my comfort zone.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. So take us on this journey. You go from idea. How does you go from idea, like what have you learned in the process of taking that idea, bringing it to market, and then ultimately growing it to the point where you have. Hey guys, thanks for listening as always, and I'm glad that you continue to support with each and every download and subscription and share. One of the things that I want to ask you though is, where are you listening to me from right now? I know some of you, maybe you're on a treadmill, maybe you're washing dishes, maybe you're walking that dog, and some of you are actually in a vehicle driving right now. One of the fun things that you can do, get some of your time back, is begin to living a car-free existence. But even then, it can be a little complicated. So one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to go over to Zipcar. Go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary. It's a way that I am able to still go get a car just for a few hours, very, very simply, so that if I have a lot of errands to run and sheets to drop off and running to the short-term rentals, or if I just want to go for a long trip up to LA and back, etc., I can rent a car for a very, very short period of time. And the cool part is I don't even have to pay for any gas. Again, go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary.
So I had that initial idea, and I was using the old employer as a case study. So I kind of saw that opportunity because my goal was to really bring unique value to the industry and, to build something sustainable. So I kind of latched on to this opportunity and brought it to them. And then once I actually got that first contract, I was pretty much in the mode of doing anything possible to increase their ad revenue. So that I was able to kind of hit it off the start. And a really important part, because I was looking at all these other venues too, SEO clients. And I think what's really important for entrepreneurs is to start working on it, like just start doing it and get results, and then pivot if you need to. But usually when you're in the process, you see opportunities. Like once you're actually in it, that's the hardest step. Getting in there, start working on it, and then those opportunities show themselves. And then at the beginning, that's the most important time there. And you have the ability to make a quick pivot towards the real opportunities where you will create unique value for that industry.
Well, but hold on one second. I want to address something, because you said when you get into the process, then you have the opportunity to realize and see other things to where you could possibly pivot. There are a number of people who, unless they can map out the entire thing, never get started. What would you say to that?
I would say start with something. Make your best guess of where the opportunity is, and then just start working on it. Build that website. Approach that client. Build that Instagram profile. Just start getting traction. Start moving towards that goal, and things start to materialize once you're actually in it. That first step is so important, and people tend to stay in that research and gathering stage for years, and they just never get out of it.
So how did you set yourself free, or how could someone else set themselves free, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's really just making that first step. At the end of the day, it's up to them, and just make that first step, whatever it is. Like I said, make that relevant website, or approaching that client, or if they're looking for a co-founder, start talking to people. Like start making actions rather than just having thoughts and talking about it. Like just do it, pretty much. That's like it's a very Gary Vaynerchuk thing to say, but I mean I completely believe in it, and I mean I'm also living proof. Like I did. regrets, learn from your mistakes, and be opportunistic. It's going to work out. It's all about that persistence. And I was lucky to be able to kind of hit off an opportunity early on, but I don't have a doubt that if I didn't, I would have been able to find another opportunity that was within proximity.
Yeah, no, I get that. So when it comes to this entrepreneurship, digital nomad life, like how much planning do you actually do, if any?
In terms of the actual traveling portion, I generally know where I'm going to be in the next 6 months, but I give myself enough flexibility to opportunity, or I have some friends that are going to this cool new place, or there's a conference I want to go to. So I kind of go find that happy middle between planning and keeping open-ended. And one thing that's interesting that a lot of digital nomads kind of face is FOMO, the fear of missing out, because you literally have the opportunity to be wherever you want, when you want. So you have all these cool opportunities, and you can't be in more than one place at a time. So you really have to prioritize. And it's funny because it's something that I say all the time: digital nomad problems, like choosing from all these incredible things, problems, which is a problem that people would kill for.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. So, as you've grown the business, if you think back to when you first started, was 70 countries in 7 years, and being able to do seven figures, was that something that you were like, that's what we're going to do, or did that just kind of happen because you just stayed focused on where you kept seeing the next opportunity?
Yeah, it totally kind of happened slowly. I definitely did not expect for the business to grow to the size that it is. The main focus to begin with was to establish this lifestyle of location and schedule freedom so I can engineer my ideal lifestyle. And I was able to achieve that within the first 10 months. And from that point, I just kept on growing the business and realizing opportunities. And I'm a pretty ambitious person, so I like to see that growth and improvement in the business. The crux of Monetize More is optimizing ad inventories. However, this optimization is something that I live by. I optimize my lifestyle. I'm always improving things around me. It's a big part of our company culture as well. It's something that I internalize for the past decade, and it's something that I tried to pass on, and I think I've been successful with that.
So basically, then you live exactly what you do for your clients, is what it sounds like.
Exactly. It's a company and personal mantra.
Yeah, it's everywhere. I get it. And I like it. So if someone, so for the sake of this particular conversation, let's pretend that someone listening wanted to find out more about, what you guys are doing, what you're up to, maybe even reach out and see if your services fit. What's going to be the best way for them to catch up with you?
The best start would be going on our website, monetizemore.com. And if they're a publisher that monetizes via programmatic ad revenue, we have three different solutions that's consolidating into two. So for small business, we have DoubleClick Ad Exchange, which is the premium version of AdSense, and it for publishers that want to pretty much make that next step from AdSense to Ad Exchange, they have access to more advertisers, better targeting technology, so they're able to increase ad revenues by making that next step. We also have something called header bid technology, which is a new thing in the industry. And it is essentially like the automation of ad optimization. And we've seen some really strong ad revenue increases. And then we have the premium publisher model, which is pretty much what with used everywhere. We take over all their ad inventory management. We manage everything, and we charge a percentage of the increase. So that's kind of the three products. And we're going to keep the premium publisher product for publishers that want to outsource their ad optimization. And we are developing a SaaS solution that's currently in beta. It's called PubGuru. And that will allow publishers to optimize their ad inventories in-house. It's DIY ad optimization, and they'll have access to our technology and an easy-to-use interface so that someone within their company can increase their ad revenues all within the platform.
That's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. So with that being said, one of the things that I want to do is I want to ask you the final question, because I'm curious to hear what your answer would be. Let's pretend for a moment that someone listening is, thinking about, but has been thinking about that whole jumping off the cliff, if you will. They're finally going to go put on their superhero outfit. Maybe they're even standing in front of the superhero outfit store, Kean, and they're going to become the entrepreneur. They're finally going to do it this time. Now, let's pretend that same person is going to actually do what you suggest, and they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you suggest that they do?
I would suggest for them to the ideas that they can, if they haven't come up with those ideas yet, to pretty much write down all the business ideas that they've come up with before, or just on the spot. Just pretty much bring out a notepad, computer off, just write them down. Just put your head down and write down all those different ideas, and do the research on each one. Look at the competitors, do a bit of micro research, and narrow it down to one or two ideas, and then get on the phone with potential clients and suppliers and kind of assess that opportunity. And then once you've kind of chosen that one idea, commit to it. That way, start talking with these potential clients, and ask them, during the market research phase, ask them what what problems they want to fix, what are their pain points, how can they improve their relationship with their suppliers, and then you find these. That's where you find the opportunity, and then dig in and start working with them. To get that initial kind of relationship, sometimes it takes some free work and some creative thinking in terms of how you can work with them, so that you minimize their risk, and just kind of keep on digging into that opportunity, and that's how you essentially validate it. So this can definitely be done within the first 24 to 48 hours. It'll take a lot of work, and there's a lot more work after that, but that kind of first start is key to kind of build that momentum. And that is really the toughest step.
Yeah, totally hear you. Well, I definitely want to thank you and take the time to thank you for sharing your knowledge, your insight, as well as the wisdom and experience that you've gained here with us today at the CashFlow Diary.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means go to monetizemore.com. Look it out. You might find that they're exactly what you need, but more importantly, you can learn lessons by seeing what other entrepreneurs are out there doing. And if you've ever thought about the idea of how could I grow a business and without being tied to any one location, well, here's another example of exactly how you might be able to do that. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what it comes down to, as you just heard, is get started and stay started. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.